Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the Morning, 15 minutes to change your life. This Shiur is sponsored by Aaron and Ariel Zuckerman for Nelis and Neshama, by Sharon Yehudis, Bas Yosef Zalman, on her third yard site. Thank you very much for the sponsorship, and everyone is willing and encouraged and able to sponsor Shiur. Just reach out to us. Okay, let's try to finish this Sikha, this second part of the Sikha. So basically, the story is like this. We're asking a question like this. Avram has a son, he has Yishmael, and Hashem tells him that I'm going to give you another son, and you're going to have Nachas. And so Avram's like, hey, Lu Yishmael, as long as Yishmael behaves in my derech, and he follows the paths of Torah mitzvahs, I'm happy. I don't need another son. I'm happy to get another son. I don't need crazy miracles. And so Hashem basically tells him that he's not going to be the one. This all comes from the Medrash. He's not going to be the one that's giving you the true nachas. So the question is, what's wrong with Yishmael? We talk about how Yishmael, for sure, he was in Avram's house, and he was mechanech through Avram, and his mother, she had Mesiras Nefesh coming from Paro's house, and left that to become a maidservant in the house of Avram, but she wanted to be connected with what's true, what's real, Torah mitzvahs. And for sure, she mechanech his son that way. So what's the problem? So why wasn't Yishmael good enough for this? And why do we have to have Daf Yitzchak? So we have to understand that answer. We have to understand the difference between Yishmael and Yitzchak. And there's essentially two differences. One is that Yishmael, he was born naturally, where Yitzchak was born with a miracle. Yishmael had a bris at 13 when he understood what was going on, and he made the choice. Whereas Yitzchak, he was 8 days old, he didn't have any choice, didn't come from seichel, from logic. And this is sort of we're saying, this is the underlying principle, and this is also an important lesson in chinuch, as we're going to learn. So the Fishnei Ha'avdalim Amurim Bein Yishmael Yitzchak. So according to the differences between these two ways of Yitzchak and Yishmael, which Hiladas Shel Yitzchak Al Tivis Shel Yishmael Al Tivis, was that Yitzchak was born not naturally by a miracle, whereas Yishmael was born without a miracle. And secondly, B'hiskashrusei Ha'al Sichlis Shel Yitzchak Al Hakadosh Baruch Hu, the connection Yitzchak has with Hashem. When he has the birth at 8 days old, he makes his connection, v'kesher olam, and an everlasting connection with Hashem. At the time when he's not even old enough to understand. So that, and whereas Yishmael is, he's going to the Hakadosh Baruch Hu, was alpi seichel, was logical. So Yuvan Gam, Madua Nachas Ha'emes Shel Avram Avinu, he dafka mi Yitzchak. And now we understand why specifically the true Nachas that Avram is going to get is from Yitzchak. Because of these differences, because of the fact that Yitzchak was unnatural and his connection to Hashem is above logic, whereas Yishmael's connection to Hashem is logical and his birth was natural. Let's see. And then we're going to explain it in terms of chinuch. A kid grows up in a very good house, good parenting, everything is good. They give him a good upbringing, a well thought out, with hanachas, with their values, and they teach a kid, and they give it to them, give the seichel, and everything makes sense. They teach him Torah and mitzvah, do everything good, but it's all coming from seichel. Zud darcha shel Yishmael. This is Yishmael. Grew up in a good house, taught him properly, everything is good. But Yishmael gadol v'veisa shel Avram Avinu, because he grew up in Avram's house. V'chinchuhum habayis eisay el havanas v'seichel hanachina b'tzura. And they brought him up to make him appreciate he should have a connection with Hashem, which is all a good thing. But in this way of teaching, it's not a certainty. Meaning if it's all logical and you all explain to them logically, this is make you feel good. You do mitzvahs, it makes you feel good, and you do a various, you don't feel good in the end. And everything is just brought out with seichel, with intellect and logical, and it's logic. It makes more sense to do Torah mitzvahs. When Judaism comes because of I do it because my intellect teaches me to do this way. I've thought about it and it makes sense to me, and I use and that's where it goes. That's where it comes from. That's why a kid asks you why. So you explain to them why everything has to be done, and if you don't give him an answer, he doesn't necessarily want to do it. Ein kol vadius sheyeshna kol shehu loy, kol shehu lo yamoid besafek as hamshacha. Not necessarily do we have the certainty that's always going to continue this way. Because yes, I can even more gambe ace shahum makusha even at the time he is connected with Hashem, ein kol bitachon. There's no certainty ad heichon tisbata yadus, how far his Judaism will go. Meaning, his Judaism is based off our understanding and what we understand, what we do, and we're connected in that way, and we teach our kids that way. Like I said the story yesterday about the guy that he gave the option for his child, and child chose the good option. But then Judaism becomes very much what I think. It comes very very much from the place of how do I feel about it, what do I think about it, how do I internalize it, and based on what, and it's very limited in that sense because it's limited of me. How good the Judaism will be based off how intellectually, how much we grasp, we understand, and we connect. And that's sort of everything. That's the problem. And that's sort of what Yishmael has. He has intellect, and it's nice, and it's not a bad thing. And we're not saying kids shouldn't understand, or we shouldn't grow up our kids to understand what they're doing. But we shouldn't make it as that's the goal. The goal is we do it. Why? Because Hashem asked us to. But Hashem also wants us to understand it, so let's understand it. And that's what we're saying. And therefore, Gambi Yishmael Yeshaaf Nis Tamna Pigia Bershusay Lehoisay Shars Lehishira Veis Avram. When it came to inheritance and started getting problems, Hashem said to Avram, you have to kick him out, you have to send him away. Because Yitzchak's the one who's going to continue going. And he's the one who's going to make us continue the Yiddishkeit. HaKadosh Baruch Hu here, Hashem showed us, He shined to us, He made us realize Hamadas Deris Yisraelim Ein Makom Lagisha Tivis. You want to continue the Jewish people, it can't come with logic. You can't use pure logic. Kiyumay Mihusa Shol Am Yisrael Lehem Altivim. The existence of a Jewish people are not natural. We are not natural, our lives are not natural, and everything's not natural. So we kind of teach people something that's not natural in a logical way. Yehudi Kal Kiyumay Laman Hiroisos V'Leidasai Benisim Bli Kal Hischashus Hateva. The existence and the birth of the Jewish people, and as we see, the fact that we're still alive is wild. It's all not natural, above nature, it's all miracles. The greatest of nations were before us, and we're still around. And people try to destroy us, and they keep on trying to destroy us, and we all stand. We're always a small amount, but we're always there. Because Baruch Amar Avram ben Hashem said to Avram, Nachas emesh yadus barak miyeled shehivalde bereishis chayav heim be'ofen elikim. The only way Judaism is going to continue is when the beginning of the birth of the Yid is in a way that's godly, only godly. Meaning, when the child is 8 days old, kalema, meaning, in the first possibility for this, the first healthy possibility for a child to become connected, we're connecting to Hashem in an everlasting covenant. Even though he doesn't understand and we have no even possibility to ask him, but that's the whole point we're trying to achieve. This type of Judaism that this kid gets, it's not going to be limited to his understanding and his intellect. That type of Yid has Mesiras Nefesh. And from this child you have true nachas. So what the Rebbe is saying is that for a lot of times it's uncomfortable when you go to a bris and people feel uncomfortable when you give a kid a bris so young and doesn't understand anything. So that's the whole point. We'll try to, because if we make it intellectual, say, hey, let's ask him what his opinion is. This is the problem of society. Let's ask the child, the 3 years old, what are your opinion? But when you do it the right way, the kid Judaism becomes part of them. And this is what continues the Judaism going. It's not when you come different shittas, let's ask them their opinion. Let them come to it on their own. That's not what we're saying. We're saying you give it to them straight. You tell them you're a Yid, and this is specifically the connection. And that's why the bris at such a young age is that we make them that connection, that internal connection, that essential connection that Yid has. And then from that point on, the kid always feels he's a yid and doesn't have any of these questions. It helps them so much. That's what we're saying. And if we wouldn't do it that way, and we would wait till they're 13 years old to let them make the decision, it wouldn't be better results. It would be worse results. Okay, Yud Aleph. Story. One of the axioms that Rebbe tries to ingrain within us, and you'll see it a lot in Klidei Sichos, the Rebbe says the Torah is on a history book. He nitzches, it's eternal. Gefi she'efshal hivakeach ma'yishenus kriyas HaTorah mechader choshan u'shana. Like we see that every year we read the Torah again. Shemashma'usa shesipurei HaTorah mishamshim hirois l'chol eis l'chol makom. And ultimately, we read it every single year because it's a lesson, an internal lesson for all times, all places. Ketzad al Yehudi leisnag b'eishap ayid should behave in his house. B'chevra v'akal, amongst his friends, and how we should act in the society around us. And this is what we're going to apply this lesson we learned from Yishmael and Yitzchak to our lives. V'chein gam hamasupa Parshas Shavua zeh mashma keira b'oirech achachayim b'chlal inyan chinuch b'frat. In general, this is the things that we learn from life, how to approach life, from what we learned, and specifically in regards to chinuch. Shahu nakudat ha'ikris, which is the main point. Chinuch is the foundation of everything. Some people think that the way you should mechanech, the way you should raise a child is lahamtin ad shayelad yizgabe v'yachal lehis tamech habanasei tech tikva shviyos mibnei Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov yagia be'atzmo lemusag hanachin b'yadus. That people think, let them come to it on their own. Let's not push them. Don't make it hard. Don't push them. Don't annoy them. Just let them by themselves figure it out. I'll offer to them, but they can make their own choices. The lesson that this Parshas is teaching us, his stamchus al haseichel anushi, relying on mortal intellect, af charaf v'samtus gedel v'yosef, where they have the greatest of minds. This is not the way to connect to Hashem. Haderech hu mesiras nefesh. The way to connect to Hashem is mesiras nefesh. But what do you mean? But it'll be their own. And the purpose of Chassidus is that it should be our own. Chassidus teaches us that's how we should. Chassidus want pneumius. It should be our own. We should work on it. But he's saying the hanacha, the first axiom, is that we're connected to Hashem. Now let's connect with it. Let's understand it. Let's internalize it. Let's make that our own. But we're not saying you can go find your way to Hashem, where some people think. And you can run this surface in another lesson. Ein lases leyeled chinuch shel yadus delayla. Toich hanacha shekishiyigdal v'yanik lo yosem. Don't give a child a chinuch of it's like a haphazard Jewish education. Yeah, whatever. I'll give them a little bit of chinuch. Who cares? Like later, they will figure it out themselves. They'll connect it with themselves. Gisha kizum tam mas'ima le'inyan hamasuvav al havanas v'cheshbonis. This works when you're working on the line of thinking of all calculated. When you're talking about a yid that by nature we're already above nature, we have a lesson from the story of the Torah. What are we doing? You come to the 8th day. We want to instill with them this fundamental strength connection to Judaism. To make an everlasting connection between this person, this boy, and Hashem. Lech shana, vesim shana, le'esrim chamesh shanim. It's not a connection for a few years, for 5 years, 10 years, for 20 years. It's an everlasting connection we're making over here. And that's what we're trying to do. V'anakas midas gedusha show yadus liyadim ma mashmahu. So what does it mean, that connection with the yid that he has with Hashem? It is yesh lahavhir l'noyer b'shachar nu'urav, when in the beginning of the morning, Sha'am Yisrael b'chal, the Jewish people in general, or Meila kol Yehudi Yifrad, and therefore also you told this person, this kid, Einam kfufim l'cheshboim tivim. Tell a kid, and this is a literal thing we can tell a kid, you're not limited to nature. what nature says doesn't apply to us. Yesh l'shanein l'noyer shalav l'hazniach es acheshbeinis hashonim. Don't worry about all these calculations that people talk about. We can do that, can't do that. You can't. You're a yid. You're above nature, and that's why we made it and give you breast at 8 days old. We should have waited to ask him. No, we don't want to do that. Why? Because we want you to make that connection with Hashem that it's above nature. Zeh shemitzi me'am shehirois ve'leidasai ba b'derech leitivis mishu ben am atik yomin shebiyadei hatera heitika b'yesem v'shavra Allah b'shenis kashim kaharabim shekal kiyuma b'neis ein loy kol keshe im cheshbeinos inushim v'asaloi lis bases aleim. They're ever saying, they tell a kid, listen to what we've gone through. The Jewish people, we've gone through so much, and we've survived so much. And we've been able to have the Beis Mikdash, and the second Beis Mikdash, and Galus, and all this suffering. We're still here. We're not limited in nature. Don't worry about what nature tells us. Nature tells us you can't do this, and you can't do that. This is not shaykh to you. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're never going to do this. I'm a yid. It doesn't belong to me. I'm connected to Hashem. V'aminhag, b'tzura, hamuna, umakabel mishneis yildasei es hadracha ladas yisrael naile merom mecheshbeine sichliim v'kasher v'kisher imakash baruch b'seilam. When you raise a kid in this type of mindset, that we don't have to worry about whatever the world says, and we're above this, and I have a connection with Hashem, an everlasting connection. Allah musebes havtachas hakadosh baruch hu b'yitzchak al hazarim. Then we have the certainty that with Yitzchak will be the offspring, that the kids will have that connection properly and will express themselves. From that type of child, you'll have true nachas. Hey, meruch him gashus. They have nachas spiritually and physically, meaning you worry that your kid will grow up in such an environment, you teach them these things, and then you're going to send them to yeshiva, and they're going to learn an English education, not going to know what to do with themselves, not going to know how to make parnasa. You'll have true nachas, begashmis, physically, financially. Your kid will have everything that you need. You don't have to worry about it. It's a beautiful lesson. They're saying, learn from this, that the reason why Yitzchak specifically, just to explain this again, the reason why the question was, Avram was happy with Yishmael. Yishmael grew up in Avram's house, was a good kid. So why does Hashem say that you need to have Yitzchak, and Yitzchak will be the one who will give you all the true Yiddish nachas? It's because Yishmael, and you could sort of say, there was no real fault of his own, grew up in an environment that everything was logical, that he thought about everything, and it came to it on his own. Yitzchak, on the other hand, his birth was unnatural, it was a miracle, and his bris was at the first moment before he understood what was going on. And what we're telling, and what the lesson that it's teaching us, and when we teach a kid, we don't make them come to it on their own. Of course, when we teach, you have to explain to them and let them appreciate it for themselves. But we have to have a hanacha, an axiom, that the kid knows he's a yid, and everything is possible. His whole life exists above nature. The fact that the Jewish people come from Yitzchak is because Yitzchak is above nature. And when it's a child, that we have a bris, that make a bris, is covenant, that the bris is a bris olam. It's not like you're connecting for a few years. You're connected essentially with God. We made this connection forever. And when the kid grows up in that way, you say, don't worry what nature tells you. Nature tells you can't, don't worry about it. And when you raise him up in that way, like the Parshas says, that will be where you get your true nachas from. Not just nachas, but davening and learning, and the kid will be from yid and do all these good things. But even begashmis, even financially, you'll be fine. You won't be a nabach, and everything will be good if you raise him up this way. Everyone should have an amazing Shabbos, and till next week.